Welcome, everybody. This is the Little Feat Radio Show. This is a special edition. We're featuring Tony Leone, the drummer for Little Feat. And joining Tony, I'm your host, Red Miller, and we have Larry Lister, who's the drummer for the Boat Drunks. And we're going to be talking a little bit about Little Feat's new album, Sam's Place. Tony, it's been a while. When we last spoke, it was before the By Request tour, I believe.
Wow, that has been a lot.
Yeah,
There's been a lot of water under the bridge since then.
Yes, indeed. And you've had the Waiting for Columbus tour, you've had the Sail and Shoes Dixie Chicken tour, and you're about ready to go out on tour again. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing coming up?
Well, we have a pretty exciting spring and, end of spring, early summer, and late summer couple runs coming up. We're doing some shows in some really fun venues with some of our favorite bands out there. Tedeschi Trucks Band, Los Lobos, the Wood Brothers, a few with Dwayne Betts, which should be fun. And we're just really, I think everyone's looking forward to, getting back at it again and doing what we do, bringing the boogie.
And, with nearly 3 years playing with Little Feat, is there anything that you think has stuck out with you that you've learned from this experience, playing with Sam Clayton? How's it working? How's it working out for you?
I can honestly say that there have been nights, and especially in the beginning, where if I ever had a question of where the groove was, I could just kind of look over to my left and lock in with Sam, And once that would happen, it was like everything was snapping into place, and he's just been a joy to meet and hang out with and be around. We have so much fun together.
Excellent.
We have a lot of fun together on the bandstand, off the bandstand, as with the rest of the guys in the band. He's just, an experienced and seasoned veteran full of wisdom. I really just dig being around Sam whenever I can.
Excellent. Well, it was just about a year ago. I remember Bill Payne told me y'all were going to do a blues album with Sam. And oh my goodness, here it is.
Wow, got the vinyl.
I got the vinyl, yes indeed.
Pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Pretty amazing. I mean, it looks fantastic. It's what a record, I mean, that picture, it's mind blowing to me.
Did Dick Bangham do that picture?
Did he take that one?
Or
Red, maybe you can help. Oh yeah, Dick Bangham did the cover. Yeah.
The cover, yeah, good.
Mm-hmm. I don't think he took the picture, though, on the inside.
It says Fletcher Moore Photography.
Yeah. Oh, Fletcher. Yeah, right. Fletcher, yeah.
And your first album with Little Feat on drums. That's awesome.
That's great.
Congratulations.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
And it sounds amazing. I was so surprised when I ran it through kind of top to bottom. I was going, oh, blues album, okay. And familiar with a couple of the songs that from Sam's past, but the cool thing was that it had every cool blues groove, and they were all different. I mean, it's got like the eighth note rock and roll kind of beat, the bluesy sort of version of that. There's 6/8. There's like the Delta thing. There's the train beat and the Tumbao even thing that like Mellow Down Easy, it's just it was such a fun, and it didn't get old. So I really dug it. It was, I don't know where the song selection came from. We could talk about that maybe, but
sure, yeah.
I'm hoping we're going to get to do a deep dive, maybe even do a track by track. But before we get into that, you tell us about where you recorded it, and it sounded like it was a very special place.
It really was. And, like Larry said, there is that connotation that, these guys are just doing a blues record, and I think going into it, we were maybe really aware of that. And then, Scott had the great idea of, I guess initially it started that we were recording the songs at soundcheck. And there was the concept that we were going to maybe release some of the soundcheck takes as the album. But as it went on, we started to think, well, if we're going to do this thing, we should do it right. We should do it in a studio. We should, make sure it sounds the way we want. And as that idea progressed, Scott had the idea, I know a bunch of guys in Memphis, and wouldn't it be cool to do a blues record in Memphis, adding to the story, adding to the inspiration for us, and adding to the mojo, as it were. So doing it down there, I think, really inspired all of us. And it really became the thing that kind of tied the whole record together and gave it, a special story.
So this was at Sam Phillips recording studio?
Yes, Sam Phillips recording studio, which was basically the studio that he bought and started running after he sold Elvis Presley's contract to RCA. So with the proceeds from that, he bought and started, not knowing that Elvis was going to become the mega archetypal superstar that he was. Sam Phillips opened Sam Phillips Recording. And interesting things about, the studio, when you go in there, there are still elements that feel like it could be, 1961 or whatever, in terms of the decor and the upstairs. It's kind of like a hangout area where we would have lunch and stuff. Not to mention the fact that the piano there used to be owned by Jerry Lee Lewis.
Nice.
So, to me, having been a Feet fan as well as, a player, being in that studio with Bill Payne playing Jerry Lee Lewis's piano, that was just that was too heavy, man. That was really something, because he's such an extension of that style of playing,
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you an inside baseball kind of question.
Mm-hmm.
Did you use a click?
Nope, we did not. In fact, interesting thing about Sam Phillips recording studio is that when we got in there wasn't even really a headphone set up there. So, yeah, we got in and we were getting ready to play, and then suddenly the issue of headphones came up, and a couple of the guys that were there were like, headphones? We don't really do that. We're like, hey, man, I know you're trying to keep the vintage vibe, but, I have to be able to hear what everyone's playing, So
that kind of dovetails with a question that I had was the video. So I saw the video, just a studio video. It looked like a blast. So was everything recorded live, or what? And then maybe dub if you needed to, but how do you get separation? It looked like everybody was.
We cut live. Yeah, we cut everything live. Sam was in a booth by himself doing the vocals, and the only thing that was overdubbed was if Sam and I did some percussion stuff together afterwards, and we got into this thing where I think it was on the tune "You'll Be Mine" that Bill suggested shakers, and then we both went out and did double shakers, and now that's become a little thing. We did it a lot on the new record too, where we both played shakers together, kind of tying the whole tune together.
Okay, well, the cat's out of the bag on the new record, but I want to focus in on this one a little bit.
Can you edit that out?
Well, Larry and I may have some questions about it after we get through the Sam's Place questions. So I'd like to maybe even just start with Milkman.
They call me the Milkman, making those early morning deliveries. When everyone is sleeping, I'm at your door.
What would you call that beat? I can definitely hear the congas.
What would you call that beat?
Yeah.
Geez, on that particular tune, I was certainly thinking about High Records, and Stax and
yes.
And Al Green.
Yeah, it's like the rock and roll, soul rock and roll. It's the rock and roll groove, but just a soulful version of it. Really, it's,
for myself, I was not thinking rock and roll. I was thinking more like Al Jackson on like any of the Al Green stuff, like I'm so tired of being alone, it's like a 4 on the floor thing.
Right.
And a heavy backbeat, you know.
Eighth note hat, you know,
Yeah.
And it's definitely a 12-bar blues, sort of like Little Red Rooster, where it starts on the, I know you're both drummers, I'm going to tell you, the 4 instead of the 1 for the 12-bar.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And then it goes out, you know, it hangs on the 1 at the end, which is cool.
So, and that was a tune that rather than have it be a full album of either blues covers or classics, Scott and Sam and Fred got together and thought, wouldn't it be cool if we had an original tune on here? And so those 3 got together, and Sam came up with some lyrics, and you know,
it sounds so classic. My goodness.
Yeah.
And it sounds like Little Feat, which is what I love about it.
Yep.
Well, it certainly is Little Feat.
Yeah.
You know, at least this is our incarnation of it. You know?
I didn't see who did the horn arrangements in the, at least on the vinyl. I didn't see where that was.
I
see Marc Franklin on trumpet.
Mark.
Memphis,
Mark and Art. Yeah, so they may have done the horn arrangement for that one. There's at least one other tune on the record that they're on that Bill had a hand in kind of getting them to do stuff in the studio, kind of on the fly.
So they were Memphis guys, right? I'm not familiar with either of the 2 names, but were they Memphis guys?
Yeah, they're originally from Memphis. I don't know that they're living right in Memphis anymore, but Scott knew them from Greg Allman's band.
Okay.
And then Bill actually knew them because they had done some stuff with the Doobies as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was great having them. They sound really great, and they add a certain Memphis flavor to the whole thing.
Nice.
There's some of the songs that it sounds like there's a Barry going on, but
I think Art may have overdubbed some Barry on some stuff.
And of course, another one that has horns is You'll Be Mine.
Yeah, so that was the one that Bill had some kind of, you know, clear ideas of what he wanted to hear. And that was the tune, actually, that Sam and I first did the dual shaker thing.
Very nice. Let's hear just a little bit of that, just for the fun of it.
That's the one with the kind of train beat, isn't it?
Kinda, yeah. It's kind of a train beat.
You so sweet, you so fine. How I wish you were mine, honey.
Yeah, it's almost like more of like a double time kind of gospel church feel.
Yep.
Rather than like a train thing. But that tune was suggested when Sam first reached out to Bonnie Raitt about doing something on the record. I think we had a different tune in mind for her. I can't remember which one, but she suggested that tune. She said, well, what about, you know, this Howlin' Wolf tune, You'll Be Mine? And so we learned it, and we ended up coming up with an arrangement for it, but that ended up not being the one that she sang on.
Well, that leads us into the one that she did sing on. I'm just going to play a little bit of it.
One of these days, baby, I'm gonna show you just how nice a woman can be.
So yeah, I had a question about that. Was Bonnie overdubbed, or did she do it live too?
She overdubbed her part.
So, and when Sam was singing, was he playing percussion, or just he singing overdubbed percussion later? How'd that all work?
So, on that tune,
just in general.
Oh, in general, let's see. Well, he was in a room for sure by himself for the vocal. I'm trying to remember because on that particular tune, we were all in the same room.
Okay.
And also, when he and I cut percussion together, we were in the same big room, but I can't remember. I think he had his congas in a small room with him, but he didn't play and sing at the same time.
Okay.
He didn't record his vocal and sing at the same time. I mean, and play percussion at the same time.
Did he ever do like a reference track where he was in the same room with y'all and then went back later and overdubbed the vocals? It's all just live?
No, it was always live.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, it's great that, Bonnie's played with you on that track. I know that a lot of the press I have mentioned Bonnie. So, you've met her before, right?
She came to hear us when we played at the Warfield in San Francisco.
Okay.
She was off the road, And so that would have been, when was that, October? I have no recollection of time at this point.
3 years sort of blurs together, right?
Yeah. All my mental facility goes into the groove and everything else falls apart. She came out to hear us at the Warfield, and it was really, really great. Really nice to see her. And she was so warm and encouraging, and we were just so stoked that she was there. So I think that must have happened before we got her on the record. But yeah, she's just a national treasure. I mean, a voice of gold, and she sang beautifully on the thing. It's funny because that particular tune was an add-on. That wasn't necessarily in our on our agenda of tunes to cut, and somehow it got added on. We should do something broken down, kind of like back porchy.
Mm-hmm.
And that tune got suggested, and I don't know if you guys have ever heard the Muddy Waters version of that tune on the album Muddy Waters. It's called Muddy Waters Folk Singer. And then there's another one also called Muddy Waters Sings Big Bill Brunzi, where they're both super stripped down, and it's just acoustic guitars. And it's actually the other guitar player on the record is Buddy Guy. But so there's a version of Long Distance Call, and I would say that the approach we have going on here is very similar. It's not like we were trying to copy that, but I know for me that recording holds a special place for me. So the whole time we were recording it, I was kind of thinking about the feel of that, and with that reverb that we have going on there, it certainly kind of conjures up that vibe,
And it's certainly different from when you used to do it as part of apolitical blues.
Yeah, well, it's not as electric, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'd like to talk about one of my favorite tracks on it, which is the when I listened to it, I thought the name of the track was Love Somebody, but I guess it's Don't Go No Further.
Oh, yeah.
You need bread, trying to bake a real. You need love, don't go no further. Just come on home with me. I got to love somebody.
So that's you and Fred singing backgrounds, right?
That's all of us, actually.
All of you. And you were all doing that live?
No, we overdubbed that. Yeah,
Okay.
We all stood around in a circle with a big mic in the middle and did the answer vocals.
Yeah. And I have to admit, this is not your typical 12-bar. I saw that.
No, there's
that 2/4 beat in there, bar in there, right?
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So I love that.
That's the way Muddy did it as well,
Okay, it just sounds so Little Feat. So
yeah, I love that tune. I was really psyched when Sam picked that one to do.
Good choice. And you got Bull on harmonica. He's all over the place on this record.
He really is. Yeah, I think I don't know that any of us really anticipated that, but Bull is he's a special cat, man. He brings a lot of positive energy. He does his job as tech extremely well, and then it just so happens that he blows the hell out of the harp too. So Sam, I think, really appreciates having him around, as we all do. And Sam really wanted to have Bull playing on the record, because first of all, he sounds great, and second of all, he's one of the cats,
Indeed.
We love having him around.
Yeah, and it like you said, it's just a great texture to have on this album.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta have harmonica on a blues record.
Yeah, and he doesn't overplay. He's just super tasteful. And that's the fine line.
He loves the music first. He's Bull. Like the same way I talk about different recordings, and I'm keeping in the back of my mind or referencing, or Bull feels the same way about the harp. I was really going for a Little Walter thing on this one, or I was really like trying to get a Cotton vibe going. So you know, he loves the music.
Well, speaking of loving the music, I'm going to skip ahead to the next song.
Well, I'm going away to leave. I won't be back no more. Going back down south, child. Don't you want to go? Open up trouble. I'll be on.
So what were you thinking on drums for that one?
It's funny. That was one of the ones that came up as a suggestion for us to do, and I think Billy said, you know, we want to do this tune, but what do you think? Can you try and do you have any ideas for how we might approach it groove wise? And you know, Little Feat to me has always kind of been synonymous with swampy grooves, you know, and
so you're trying to do like a leave-on thing or something like that?
yeah, not necessarily. I think yeah, maybe there was some leave-on smatterings in there for sure. There always is with me, but but also I was thinking kind of more along the lines of Leon Russell's second album there. Okay. Leon Russell with Shelter People, you know, is an incredible record where he's got almost a different band on every track, but the drummers that are on that record are Jim Keltner, Jim Gordon, Roger Hawkins, and maybe Chuck Blackwell too might be on something, but very, very swampy grooves, man. If you check out, like, he does a version of Bob Dylan's Hard Rain Gonna Fall on that record that is just stomping, and it's so swampy, and I just always kind of gravitate towards rhythms like that.
Well, it's
slower paced.
There was a live version that Little Feat did on that Neon Park record where it was part of a little medley or something, right? When that was more of like a, you know, like just a fast two-step sort of, you know, that kind of groove. And I love this. This one was so cool. Yeah. I expected to hear that same thing, and it came up, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this is the way."
I think, yeah, I think that was one of the things that Billy said to me was that, you know, we've done this before, but I think we have enough kind of with the 2-beat kind of vibe. You know, what can we do different on this? And
yeah,
that one just felt natural to me.
Cool.
Yeah, I love it.
And the cats were into it too. So
great. Well, let's talk about Last Night, a Walter Jacobs song, which I was not familiar with. Talking about going from familiar to unfamiliar.
I lost the best friend I ever had. Now you gone and left me. That make me feel so bad.
Paul played some really soulful stuff on that one.
Yeah, we got a good feel on that track.
Yeah, that's a very, you know, very 12-bar. And the thing that stuck out with me is like, holy cow, listen to that reverb.
Yeah, you know, almost like an old Chess record or an old Sun.
And Bill record on organ and piano. It's a great cut.
Is he playing both organ and piano in that one?
Yeah, he played both. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he probably started with the piano. There were a couple times that were like, "No, you know, go play some organ, man." And he was like, "I'll be stepping all over it." He was on fire the whole session. You know, piano and organ, both. You know, we couldn't get enough.
Yep, nice slow blues. You got to have it, man.
Was it a B in the B3 in the studio?
Yeah, I think so. It might have been a C3, but I think it was a B3.
Yep, classic sound.
Yeah, it was old analog.
And the next one.
Oh yeah.
I'm hearing a lot of people talk about another one I wasn't very familiar with. It's definitely not. It's an 8-bar. So let's see if we can get why people like that. I think people are talking about the lyrics, like it's somewhat controversial. So let's see what they say.
They take your love and your money. They take your sugar and your honey. They take your skinny or fat. Why people like that?
Yeah, I think what they're saying is that it's not controversial, but it's apropos
Yeah.
for in today's environment.
I guess if they're going to say it's apropos, half are going to say it's controversial nowadays. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it has, you know,
Right.
almost like a New Orleans kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. I think that's loosely, actually, when you asked about what do you call that groove earlier on the first tune, I think there actually is a name for the particular groove on this tune, and I'm no aficionado on all the different beats out of New Orleans, but I think this one is something akin to a what I think they call the Popeye beat, and I could be wrong.
Beat.
Yeah. I think the Popeye beat is something like boom da do ba da boom ba ba boom boom ba do ba da doom ba ba boom boom. Has to do with that double snare, double bass drum thing at the end.
Very cool.
Yeah, which is like the from the Cuban 3/2, the son clave, or the rumba clave.
Right.
But it all came out, and New Orleans picked that up and did it on the kit like that, just like you did, with that.
Yeah. Where it's not, I think
you don't finish that clave thing. It's like it's 2-bar thing. You just keep it the tension going.
Yeah, and I think in the Cuban traditions it tends to be a lot more strict, whereas by the time those rhythms got to New Orleans, there was a little more freedom in the interpretation of it, where, the clave is something that's kind of felt underneath, but there's a lot more rolling through it,
Yep.
Like you were saying. It's not a static thing all the way through.
Which brings us to a song which was on the Rooster Rag album. I think it's a little slower on this version than Rooster Rag.
If it's slower, it must be because of all that fried chicken and barbecue we ate while we were in Memphis.
You jump, yeah. You jump there. You jump everywhere. Then you mellow down easy.
Yeah, it's just that kind of big, kind of jungle tom-tom kind of feel that goes back to, Delta blues, and then like
Congo
I mean, I
Square.
feel like I don't know if you can trace that groove to Congo Square, but you can certainly trace it to juke joints and things like that, and then right up through swing with Gene Krupa. I don't know what to say really about that groove.
The word that I've always used for that, and somebody taught it to me, and I don't know if it's accurate or not. Like you said, all these things that came out of Cuba and then into the South, and they all kind of get morphy, but it's like the Tumbao, the bum ba-dum dum ba-dum bum. If some band leader sitting in, they're saying like it's a Tumbao. That's generally what I would think would be rock and roll groove of that, but.
I'm not actually aware of that term or that groove, the Tumbao, but I guess there have been so many kind of grooves throughout the history of American popular music that have used a kind of version of it one way or the other, whether it's the Bo Diddley beat or Gene Krupa's Sing Sing Sing, right up through Las Vegas Elvis, kind of.
Yeah.
Big tom-tom stuff, and that kind of I mean, there's been a bunch of songs with that riff.
Yeah, like
I would have
Tequila.
done some homework. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. I would have done some homework for this thing if I'd gotten assignment ahead of time.
Well, like you said, though,
you
said, Tony, it came out of the big band stuff had that going on, and I think maybe it did even before then. And but when rock and roll picked it up, it got to where it sounded like what you were doing there was perfect. I mean, it's just like so perfect for that.
I mean, Ray Charles had it in What I Say, right?
Yeah.
In the breakdown, it's in there, and
that's
right. a version of
there.
that,
Yep.
So that's
a great example.
Yeah.
Speaking of great examples, would you call this next one a shuffle?
Got my mojo working. 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 Got my mojo working, but it just won't work on you. Get it, boy?
Oh, what a great song to close out the album. And that one was recorded live, right?
Yeah, that was from one of the gigs.
Okay, so I'm not a drummer. Was that indeed a shuffle?
Don't Go No Further to me is a shuffle.
Okay.
That's what I consider a shuffle. I've heard people talk about the train beat and call it a shuffle. To me, that one is more of a combination of the one we just listened to, Mojo, is a combination of like gospel 2-beat, rave up, meets train beat kind of.
Yeah, like when I hear train beat, I think it's sort of a big generic term because Tony was right earlier. It's like the train beat is kind of that Nashville country thing. But anytime you wind up just playing like a groove on the snare drum, it tends to get lumped as train beat. But then when Tony said gospel, I was like, well, yeah, that's right. That's actually the right term for it.
Or yeah, or like Earl Palmer did it with Fats Domino and Little Richard too. You know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure really what that beat is called, except, yeah, like you said, Larry, there's lots of different versions of that kind of 16th note groove thing being played on the snare drum, but it feels different every different time. You know, like if you think of Folsom Prison Blues, for example, you know, with Johnny Cash, that train beat is going to have a much different feel than like the train beat on Got My Mojo Working, you know, and or the snare beat on like Little Richard Rip It Up, you know. They're all kind of related, and I'm not sure if that came from the fact that it was so hard to record drums back then, you know, or the use of cymbal and hi-hat. That didn't even start to become prevalent in jazz until like the mid to late 40s. Prior to that, everything was kind of all about bass drum and snare drum. So that lineage, which goes all the way back to, you know, the parade marches in New Orleans, that's kind of the root of it all.
Everybody had individual drums, and then you had to just sort of make them sound like something together.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have Richie Hayward comes along, and it seems to me like he always has the hi-hat going.
And throws a bomb in everything.
Yeah. I think a lot of, especially in rock music, that became, well, I mean, in jazz, you had people like Art Blakey who, whenever they would take a solo, they always had the hi-hat going. You know, Art Blakey always had the hi-hat playing on 2 and 4. And then later on, as things got louder and rock drummers started to take solos and things, they started keeping time on all 4 beats with their left foot, and that would free up the rest of the kit. Yeah, and Richie definitely, you know, he had that hi-hat going all the time, which is why it freed him up to do so many outrageous things, you know. I mean, some of the stuff that you've shared with me, Larry, is just mind-blowing, you know.
I've got more of that somewhere, Tony, and I hit that little vein of it that I shared with you, and people are gonna be like, "What are you talking about?" Because it ain't up anywhere else. But it was like Richie used to let me hang out next to the kit, and once it got to the point, for a while I was holding a big camera because we didn't have the cell phone, and he'd get a little, you know, he'd kind of like he'd get a little shaken by it. Which I understand, and so I would just kind of find a place to kind of hide. And the reason some of those videos veer off is because I was either trying to like make it look like I was videotaping something else, or whatever. But
well, it's also very educational to see how people play. Speaking of how people play, I want to move on to what's coming up next. And just this morning, I saw something on the Little Feat Facebook page about a thing that's coming out on TrueFire on June 6th. Do you know anything about this?
You know, I don't know all the particulars about it, but I can tell you I remember making it, and we had a hell of a great time in Nashville doing it. that was kind of, we had done one other thing with Tommy Emmanuel, but that was kind of our first little jump into the studio. So I think we did that even before we did the Memphis blues record. So
okay, it's called Jam with Little Feet. So there must be some. Here's the drummer focusing on it, and
so what I'm told is that you basically buy the membership. I think, I'm not sure all the, and maybe there's certain tiers. I don't know, but basically, what it allows you to do is, like, let's say you're a bass player, you know, it allows you to kind of mute Kenny's track and play bass along with the band. Or if you're a guitar player, you can mute like Scott's track and, you know, play double guitars with Fred, you know, or you can be a drummer and mute the drum track and play along with Little Feat, you know. So I think that's a really cool thing, you know. I think that kind of, if you're trying to get it together and you're looking for outlets and ways to play, I think that's a super cool, that could be a really fun tool to have.
Well, speaking of recording in Nashville, you mentioned something on Instagram about the Blackbird Studio.
I did, yes.
Are you at liberty to share anything about that?
Geez, I guess maybe I shouldn't have said anything. It's all kind of,
well, and,
all I think I can say is, and I don't think the guys would have any problem with me saying that people should be on the lookout in 2025 for some new music from Little Feat, and that we did do it at Blackbird Studios, and it's pretty mind-blowingly great record. You know, we're very excited about it, and we just had a great time. And I mean, the final product is way more than any of us could have anticipated, you know.
Well, in the meantime, we do have Sam's Place, and I hope Little Feat's publicist is going to be putting the word out on this one, because it deserves to be heard. And I love that it is a particular genre, because so many people have said, oh, Little Feat, can you describe them? It's so hard to, you know, so many different styles. This one, I would imagine if you had somebody that wanted to do a 4-year consideration for a Grammy nomination, this one deserves to be among them, if not deserves to be the winners.
I really feel that way too. I think we all feel that way about this album, and I think, you know, the concept of it on the surface, you know, so many people could say, well, oh yeah, these guys have been around forever, now they're making a blues record, blah, 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 big deal. But what I can say is that we went after this thing with a love for the music, with a love for the songs that we were playing. There was a big sense of unity within the group about doing the record. And I think it's really, ultimately, it's like our love letter to the blues and to Memphis, you know. So this was not a phone it in, you know, like, you know, oh, we're just doing our little blues numbers here. Now there was this, like, we went in there with purpose and drive to honor the blues, to honor Sam, to honor each other. You know, we were in there playing for each other, you know, and I feel like it really comes across on this record, you know.
It really does. Well, I just want to thank you for all you've done with your time in Little Feat, and we all look forward to listening to Sam's Place, seeing you out on tour. I know I'm probably going to see you a couple times. We're looking at the 50th anniversary of the Feats Don't Fail Me Now show in Baltimore, and you're even coming to Charlottesville, which is just over the mountain from here, so we'll see you there too.
Great. Wow.
One more. So
I hope so. I hope, yeah. You know, when you guys all come around, we know it's a special occasion, so we look forward to seeing you.
Larry, do you have any last words?
So I wanted to talk. Yeah, when I want to talk about seeing the video just here this morning, is the thing that struck me about the video was just how much fun everybody was having. But Sam was radiant. That was a Sam Clayton that I haven't kind of felt or seen in 20 years. He's always just a blast, and he's always so fun, but there was just something going on because he was just doing this labor of love, and I got goosebumps just seeing him smile, watching him, you know, seeing him do his thing. And what a great idea. What a great concept for a record. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all feel the same way, and you know, we all love Sam. And Sam's like, you know, I just, like I said, I just love hanging with the guy. He's full of love, full of wisdom, and full of groove, and full of life, man. You know, like hanging out on the bus, having, you know, ritual seemed to become after a while. Get on the bus, go to the back lounge, crank up some Marvin Gaye or some Muddy Waters or, you know, whatever, and then make root beer floats, you know.
Well, very good.
We all look forward to getting back out again and
we
grooving.
look forward to seeing you back out on the road. And I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me, Red. Larry, great seeing you.
Thanks, Red.
Right.
We'll catch you on the road.
All right, take it easy, guys.
You too.